When I first encountered the Unetanah Tokef prayer, I have to confess that I had a bit of trouble seeing where I as an individual might fit into it. The language comes across to me as a bit biblical, by which I mean it comes across as a bit impersonal. I rarely fear passing by wild beasts or being subject to stoning, though unfortunately we all can now sympathize better with the dread of a looming plague. And while I do personally enjoy the apocalyptic language in the third paragraph, I also have to wonder if the great shofar blast or the opening of the Book of Records are metaphors for exegesis as opposed to really tangible concepts. And so, in other words, I find myself asking, is this merely a prayer that I can appreciate intellectually, or can it speak to me on a deeper level? And I believe that there is still a chance to wrest some level of personal meaning from the Unetanah Tokef, metaphorical as it may seem. For whether or not the great book is opened, there's this sort of sacred time which rests in the folds of stillness of the high holidays, and that allows for me to open my own book, and by which I mean to remember everything that was forgotten from my own previous year. The times when I wish I had acted in a different manner, or when I could have acted but failed to do so, can feel very inscribed and sealed, and not something that can be washed away in a single moment of atonement. I've always found it much easier to forget those things that might be considered good or even righteous acts, because what presses with more force are perceived failings. And that seems hopeless, but maybe things aren't as hopeless as they really seem. Because while teshuvah, tefillah, and tzedakah might play a role, I'm not so specifically worried with the severity of my own decree. And because what allows me to feel some relief is the fact that the Unetanah Tokef itself does not seem to give in to despair. Because we see that we are only flesh and blood, and still we might turn to a different path, which is to say, whether we're facing our Creator or our own conscience, we might still reserve some hope that our decree in the next year will prove to be less severe.